YouTube, what's up, man? It's your boy, the one J Osh. Welcome back to the show. Hey, look. So, um, your boy has videos lined up. However, your boy, I had seen the Michael movie twice. Your boy is Michael Jackson, my favorite artist of all time. All right, I'm not a stan or nothing. I haven't even heard of every single song of him, but he is my favorite artist of all time. Simple. Since I was a little kid, bruh. And I was thinking about doing a movie review, because I heard critics tried to trash it. Don't know why, but we'll get into that probably in the review if I do it. However, I was scrolling, I seen this video pop up. Whether Michael Jackson was innocent or guilty, pretty much. Obviously, they're talking about the accusations with him and children. And the channel's Elephants in Rooms. So basically, the elephant in the room, I guess. And Ken LaCorte, I think that's how you say his name. And I was intrigued. Now, if this brother flags me or doesn't want me to use his, his video, understandable. Even though he's using Michael Jackson's name. But I understand people with their, their videos, some people don't like people using their stuff. It's fair. It is what it is. But I wanted to do this reaction video to this because I saw it and I was like, this is very interesting. Considering the Michael movie just came out. It's very coincidental time, but this popped up. So,
was Michael Jackson guilty of crimes against children? For a long time, it was the biggest story in America. Multiple investigations, lawsuits, a massive criminal trial, millions in payouts, and documentary after documentary. And
also, I want to state, I don't think Mike did it. What they said he doing, what they said he did, I don't think he did it. Am I a little biased? Probably. But we all also know that Mike was a little weird. In a sense, like, he was just different, Didn't really have a childhood. Basically performing since he was a kid. His father was putting his whole family to work so they can get out the hood. Joe probably was a little too hard, but he also pushed a lot of his sons to greatness. I mean, he pushed Mike to be great, and Mike wanted more. So, but, he didn't really have a childhood. He always liked kids. He was a humanitarian, liked animals. Yeah, I just personally don't think that he did it. I think there was a lot of stuff that the higher ups were doing to try to stop Michael, because Michael was, for you young cats, like, and I'm still young, don't get it twisted, I'm not old, but for you younger kids and like teens, bro, Mike was him. All right, I wasn't even alive when Mike was really him, but Mike was him, bro. Bro would stand on stage and people passing out. He was him, bro. Globally, all these other artists y'all talk about, get out of here. Stop it. Get some help. Mike was him, bro. Like, you want to talk about aura farming? This man was aura farming before it was a thing, bro. Like, his aura was on a whole nother level. So, but yeah, I personally don't think he did it. So, we're going to watch this dude because I don't think it doesn't seem like this dude's too biased. And I appreciate people that's not biased. I have a little bias in it because Mike was my favorite artist. And so,
as I watched a few, it was clear that every single one of them had an agenda to either paint him as innocent or guilty. Not one tried to ask and answer the question in a fair way and present evidence in a fair way. I'm Ken LaCorte, and that's pretty much what this channel is all about. So the elephant in the room is pretty straightforward. Was Michael Jackson a pedophile? Today we'll start with a look at Michael himself. there are parts of his fame and persona that give us important context.
Thought you can't say the P word. Maybe it's like Twitch or something. They allowed us on here? This was okay? This was approved? Hey, if this video ain't get taken down, I guess I can
Then
use it on
we'll look
mine.
at the civil case and accusations in the early 1990s.
I wasn't going to say
The criminal case a decade later. And finally, the post-death claims that arose nearly a decade later. But first, let me go through a bit of the biases I brought into this video and how surprisingly difficult it was to put together. I was curious about where you all stood on this, so I put up a poll in the YouTube post tab, and 13,000 of you voted. For those of you with an opinion on his guilt, 56% thought he was guilty, and 44% thought he was innocent.
Really? I would have thought that a lot of people thought Mike was innocent. Just off of strictly it's Mike. You know, a lot of people get biased when their favorite celebrities are into something. Like, if Mike really did it and he was guilty of that, just because he's my favorite artist, I'm not going to sit here and be like, that's cool. Or like, well, he dead now. Like, nah, that's messed up. Seriously. Anybody who got kids. Nah, that's not cool. Mike had kids. That's unacceptable. Like, that's unforgivable to me. Messing with kids, messing with the young and the innocent. Nah, that's unforgivable. That's unforgivable stuff right there. I will not tolerate that.
And most people
I will not accept that. I don't care if he's my favorite artist or not. Like, if he was actually guilty, bro, no. No, Mike.
Exactly half of you saying, I really have no idea. That's pretty much where my head was when I started digging into this.
I'm going to be honest. I never really dug into the case. I didn't. But I've also been honest. Like, I do have bias to it. I mean, it's Mike, my favorite artist. And plus, I knew Mike wasn't never, like, fully, like, he wasn't all the way there. Not like he was, like, mentally, but he just, you could tell he was a child at heart, you know? And I just feel like a person that thinks like that, they're not really thinking of anything like, you know, creepy.
I'd obviously been aware of the case for decades. And with a gun to my head, I would have said that he was probably guilty, but with a massive, I don't know, asterisk. And the fascinating thing about this case, how ridiculously complex it was to research. It's the only topic I've tackled where I actually changed my mind several times while putting it together. I mean, you'd think it'd be straightforward. There was a public trial, transcripts, but part of the issue is there's almost too much information. This video could have run for hours. But the biggest problem is that virtually every
person down to 22 minutes. Appreciate
involved
you,
had a motivation to lie. Jackson, to protect his reputation and stay out of prison. Families looking at multi-million-dollar payouts. Lawyers, investigators, and a media obsessed with the controversy at all costs. Even after it was over, we still get contradictory interviews, changed stories, books, websites. Everyone's presenting a different reality. And even the true facts of the case can lead reasonable people to opposite conclusions. But there are two things everyone agrees on. One, he was massively successful. And two, he was weird as hell. So for those of you who are a bit younger, Michael Jackson wasn't just famous. He was literally a global phenomenon who transcended music, race, culture. He was a star when he was 6 years old, outshining his big brothers in the Jackson 5. In the 80s, 90s, and beyond, he was, no exaggeration, the biggest entertainer on the planet, and no one else was close. Thriller is still the best-selling album of all time, with 122 million copies worldwide. His dancing style was groundbreaking.
Bro, when he was him, bro, selling out stadiums, standing there, people passing out every concert, people getting taken by security trying to get to him. They said a story one time where somebody chucked a kid through his window to get to this man. Bro, Mike was him, bro. And Mike was doing all his sales when you had to get physical copies, bro. That's different, bro. We got digital streams. Whoever's the biggest streaming artist, whether it's Drake or Taylor or CB, whoever the hell it is, bro, if you would have planted Mike in this time, bro, the sales, bro, the streams and the sales would be it would have probably broke platforms, bro. That's how big Mike was, bro. And he was, like you said, globally, bro.
Mike, when he would appear in public at an event or even just shopping, pandemonium would often break out. He was huge. And, as I mentioned, he was also bizarre. Jackson's eccentricities went far beyond typical celebrity quirks. He was next level strange. Take his appearance. Jackson underwent multiple plastic surgeries that transformed his face into
his pop started that though, bruh. Talked about his nose. It was downhill from there, bruh. Then, you know, he already had the vitiligo, whatever it was. That's called his skin color changing and stuff like that. The pigmentation or whatever. Like, you know. Yeah.
Something almost unrecognizable from his childhood. He bleached his skin, did weird things with his nose.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like a lot of that, like nah, like and I think
he that transformed his
Mike when he was like in his Rock With You, Billie Jean era, bro. He shouldn't have did no more surgery, bro.
Into something almost unrecognizable from his childhood.
He was good.
He bleached his skin, did weird things with his nose, and transformed his look into a different person. In public, he'd wear surgical masks or disguises that made him look more like a patient than a performer. His clothes were always quirky. Military-style jackets covered in medals, his signature sequin glove. And then there were his animals. Bubbles the chimpanzee, who he treated like a close friend. The chimp traveled with Jackson, attending formal tea parties, and ate meals dressed as a human. I mean, Bubbles had his own bedroom at Neverland, and they say he could even use the toilet and eat with utensils. A recording session with Queen's Freddie Mercury even blew apart when Jackson insisted on bringing his pet llama Louie into the studio. Jackson appeared to have it all, but he spoke publicly about the physical and emotional abuse from his father. He also discussed his own loneliness and isolation, even filling his bedroom with life-size mannequins, talking to them like surrogate friends. I mean, that's bizarre, but you can see a pattern of somebody needing connection in his life with people who just didn't see him only as a famous person. And deep relationships with adults seem practically non-existent, especially romantic ones. Despite being one of the most famous men on the planet, he had no serious adult romantic partnership that anyone could ever point to. And his brief marriages, well, they raised more questions than they answered. His first marriage to Lisa Marie Presley lasted less than 2 years and was widely viewed as a publicity stunt. She said their relationship was mostly phone-based. His second marriage to Debbie Rowe, his dermatologist nurse, was even stranger. Rowe essentially served as a surrogate mother for his children. She never lived with him, and she gave him full custody of the kids who were raised by his Neverland staff. In court testimony, staff members said they'd never seen him spend the night with an adult in his bedroom. Which brings us to that bedroom in Neverland.
That's crazy.
A 2,700-acre ranch and essentially a symbol of Arrested Development. He built it as a childlike playground with carnival rides, a railroad.
Because he was a child, brother. He was a child in a man's body. He didn't have a childhood. He just liked kid stuff. Like, it was just, I mean,
a zoo, even a working fire station. It was his home, and it was also a magnet for young boys. Jackson publicly embraced the Peter Pan fantasy, saying he was the boy who never grew up. He surrounded himself with children, almost exclusively boys, between the ages of 7 and 14. He wrote handwritten notes to them, gave them pet names, and he showered them with gifts and attention. Now, was that generosity, or was it grooming? Because the world would soon learn about Neverland, starting with the sleepovers. Jackson regularly had the boys sleep the night at Neverland in his bedroom, sometimes even sharing his bed. Now, he claimed it was all innocent, just sleeping together like a big slumber party, but it was a big step beyond, having a merry-go-round in his front yard. People saw that he was childlike, but that didn't necessarily mean that he was asexual. Jackson had even installed an alarm system that would alert him when anyone approached the bedroom. Now, wherever you come down on the criminal allegations, to the average person, his lifestyle was beyond weird, it was troubling. A 35-year-old megastar writing gushy notes to fifth graders, sleeping with them for weeks at a time in a bedroom with an early warning system. In the shadow of that behavior, the allegations that would follow really don't seem all that surprising. And it all started when Jackson's car broke down on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles. In May of 1992, Michael Jackson needed a car, and the owner of the rental shop offered him a deal. He'd give him a car for free if Michael would just call his stepson, who was a big fan. Jackson said yes, and got the phone number of a 12-year-old boy, Jordan Chandler. They became phone friends. Again, bizarre. And Michael soon invited Jordy and his mom and sister to Neverland Ranch. By early 1993, they were staying there regularly, as well as traveling the world together. Vegas, Paris, Morocco, all first class. According to the Chandlers, Michael and Jordy would often sleep in the same room together during these trips, and even at the Chandlers' home, with the mom always present. One person who wasn't present, though, was Evan Chandler, Jordy's father, who didn't have much of a presence in Jordy's life. He was a Beverly Hills dentist with screenwriting ambitions and a bad relationship with his ex-wife. He didn't go to the police, though. He went to lawyers. He floated ideas like filing for full custody or getting a restraining order against Jackson. But soon, it became about money, and he was playing hardball.
This man is going to be humiliated beyond belief. He will not believe it. He will not believe what's going to happen to him. Beyond his worst nightmares. Sell one more record.
Later in the transcript of that recording, one that I'm reasonably sure is accurate, when Chandler is asked if he thinks Jackson is having sex with his son, Chandler responds, quote, "I don't know. I have no idea." Pressed on that, he gives vague statements like, "I know Michael's bad for him." And he said his lawyers told him to be quiet about specifics. Much of the discussion on that tape is about how Chandler can get back at his ex-wife, Jordy's mom. Then, Evan Chandler said a month after that tape recording, his son told him the truth. But he did it under sedation. Chandler, again a dentist, claims he extracted a tooth from Jordy, and under serious anesthesia, Jordy admitted that Jackson had molested him. And not for nothing, scientists say that drug can actually contribute to creating false memories. In any event, the father now demanded $20 million from Jackson to keep quiet. Jackson's attorneys reportedly counted up to $1 million, but there was no deal. So Chandler then arranged for his son to meet with a psychiatrist. And during that session, Jordy described in detail what he said had happened. Kissing, masturbation, oral sex. California law requires accusations like that to be reported to the police. And the next day, the Los Angeles Police Department opened a criminal investigation. On August 24th, the charges went worldwide and the press coverage was massive. Police interviewed Jordy and they searched multiple Jackson properties. They interviewed dozens of kids as well, some of whom said they had slept in bed with Jackson, but that nothing sexual had ever happened. The next month, the Chandlers filed their $30 million lawsuit. Now, up until this time, besides the Chandler accusations, there really weren't many reasons to believe that Jackson was guilty. Although the whole "my kid started talking under anesthesia" angle wasn't known until later. But two people would quickly change a lot of minds.
Okay.
And the first one was Jackson's own sister, LaToya.
I must tell you that this is very difficult for me, that Michael is my brother. I love him a great deal, but I cannot and I will not be a silent collaborator of his crimes against small, innocent children. Now you stop and you think for 1 second and you tell me what 35-year-old man is going to take a little boy and stay with him for 30 days.
Some context on this, though. In other interviews shortly before that one, LaToya said that she stood by Michael 1,000% and that there was nothing unusual about his relationships with the children. She also said that she had proof of his behavior and offered to sell it to tabloids for $500,000. But that fell through when she didn't come up with any proof. Years later, LaToya said she made it up because her physically abusive husband forced her to. So, you decide. The other person who increased belief in Jackson's guilt was Jason Francia, a 13-year-old son of Michael Jackson's former maid. Police had already interviewed Jason, who, like the other boys, said nothing had happened. But in a later interview, he changed his story, saying Jackson had tickled him and touched his genitals multiple times, sometimes for up to a few minutes, and stuffed $100 bills in his pants. He would repeat that allegation under oath 12 years later, where some inconsistencies in his story would come out, though. The next month, police strip-searched Jackson and photographed his genitals because Jordy Chandler had described spots on Jackson's penis. Now, to this day, people argue over whether that description was accurate or not, and to be honest, I just don't know enough to where to come down on that one. The month after that, Jackson bought his way out. He paid $22 million to the Chandlers and an additional $2 million to Jason Francia and his mother. Was that because Jackson was really guilty, or that he wanted to avoid a trial? When I worked in corporate America, I saw payouts for bad behavior, and I've seen big payouts just to avoid bad PR. And similarly, I've seen true victims, and I've seen people lie their rear ends off to get rich quick. So it's just hard to know. The criminal case against Jackson hadn't really progressed, though. 2 grand juries had been convened, one in Los Angeles and the other in Santa Barbara, where Neverland Ranch is located. They looked at the evidence and decided that at that time, they didn't have enough proof to bring an indictment. Now, technically then, the case was still open, but a few months later, Jordy told prosecutors he wouldn't testify in court. So after 19 months of digging, the DAs in both counties had no case. In the years that followed, the Chandler family fractured even further. Jordy legally emancipated himself from both parents. By the time his mom testified in Jackson's 2005 trial, she said she hadn't spoken to Jordy in more than a decade. Jordy later accused his dad of trying to smash him with a doorbell, and his dad, Evan, closed his dental practice after his payout, and a few months after Jackson died, shot himself to death in his New Jersey home. So that's no good. Months after Jackson, his dad, Evan, closed his dental practice after his payout, and a few months after Jackson died, shot himself to death in his New Jersey home.
A few months after Michael died, nah.
So that's no good. Hey, on a totally unrelated note, some of you have wondered why my thumbnails and headlines sometimes change a few times after I publish these videos. I do A/B testing on every video title that I make, trying out a few variations of the thumbnail to see which ones people find the most interesting. Because if people don't click enough, literally no one sees these videos. So if you're a content creator, I have some information in the description box below, because there's some things you just have to do to be successful here. Okay, so Michael Jackson was free of legal problems, but it certainly damaged his reputation. He lost Pepsi as a huge sponsor, and while he was still a big star, his spotlight had dimmed. He still debuted #1 albums and could still fill stadiums, but he wasn't impacting the culture like he had been, and he wanted his reputation back. Enter Martin Bashir, a British journalist who'd made his name with big celebrity interviews. Bashir pitched Living with Michael Jackson, an intimate look at the real Michael Jackson that would rehabilitate his image and show the world who he really was behind the tabloid headlines. Jackson agreed and gave Bashir unprecedented access over 8 months. Big mistake. The final documentary showed Jackson as an eccentric, isolated, and deeply, some would say bizarrely, childlike person. It focused heavily on his bond with 13-year-old cancer survivor Gavin Arvizo.
And so it was that we came back to our meeting at Neverland with 12-year-old Gavin. I'd found this easily the most disturbing moment of the past 8 months.
When Gavin was there, he talked about the fact that he shares your bedroom.
Yes.
Can you understand why people would worry about that?
Because they're ignorant.
But is it really appropriate for a 44-year-old man to share a bedroom with a child who is not related to him at all?
That's a beautiful thing.
That's not a worrying thing?
Why should they be worrying? Who's the criminal? Who's Jack the Ripper in the room? This is a guy trying to help heal a child. I'm sleeping in a sleeping bag on the floor. I gave him the bed because he has a brother named Star. So him and Star took the bed, and I'm on the floor in the sleeping bag.
Did you ever sleep in the bed with them?
No. But I have slept in the bed with many children. I sleep in the bed with all of them. When Macaulay Culkin were little, Kieran Culkin would sleep on this side, Macaulay Culkin's on this side, his sister's in there. We're all just jamming the bed.
He looked like a man who couldn't understand appropriate boundaries with children. After a decade...
My unbiased take on that, it is weird. But I really think that Mike just didn't understand. Like, because Mike was like, hey, I don't have those type of intentions. Like, I'm not thinking like that. So there's nothing wrong with it. That's how he truly thought. I mean, you know.
Since the last allegations, people were asking serious questions again. And some of those people worked for the county where Neverland was located. The Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department,
is that a good
child welfare
officials,
officials, and the same district attorney who had dropped the charges when Jordy Chandler wouldn't testify. Hey, now's a good time to remind you, if I made a significant error anywhere, let me know in the comments and I'll pin a correction below. I also have all my sourcing down in the description box. Okay, so police quickly interviewed Gavin Arvizo, who said nothing inappropriate happened. But the investigations continued. Then, over the next few months, Michael's relationship with the Arvizo family changed. According to testimony from ranch employees, the Arvizo family became a problem. The kids became unruly, damaging property, and were eventually asked to leave Neverland. And then their stories changed. Within months, the family had gone from uniformly praising him to saying Jackson started molesting Gavin shortly after the documentary. Deputies then raided Neverland Ranch with over 70 officers. They grabbed computers, photographs, and books. They never found any child pornography, which has been wrongly reported, but they did find some, kind of standard pornography magazines, some of which had the kids' fingerprints on them. In any event, they arrested Jackson and filed 10 felony charges against him, ranging from lewd acts with a child to abduction and extortion. The trial was a circus. Hundreds of fans and media outlets outside the courthouse, wall-to-wall television coverage, Jackson impersonators, helicopters hovering, testimony from Jay Leno and Macaulay Culkin, who said Jackson never did anything inappropriate in front of him. Gavin Arvizo and his brother Starr testified that Jackson showed them porn, gave them wine.
Macaulay to this day still is not playing that ish too. He's not playing with that ish. He's like, Mike didn't do nothing. At least to him. So, I don't.
Jesus juice, speaking graphically and acting lewdly. There were 140 witnesses, mostly for the defense. Now, there were some staff members who corroborated somewhat creepy Jackson behavior, but no independent witness directly corroborated the Arvizo family's allegations. Instead, the defense did a good job of portraying the Arvizo family as essentially grifters. The mom had already pulled off a successful and fake lawsuit against JCPenney, a department store. She claimed that mall security guards beat her and groped her. She won $152,000, but later admitted under oath that her injuries had come from her husband instead. She also admitted coaching her children to lie on the stand in that case, and would later be convicted for welfare fraud and perjury related to it. The defense proved that the family had lied about their finances to get charity. And while the Arvizo family claimed that Jackson's people held them captive at Neverland, they were seen unescorted at restaurants and on shopping sprees during that time. Multiple timelines didn't add up, and the Arvizo kids gave differing stories about key events. And to believe their stories, you had to accept that Jackson hadn't touched Gavin in the 3 years before the Bashir documentary, but started abusing him about a month later, right in the midst of multiple government investigations. The jury didn't buy it. On June 14th, they found Jackson not guilty on every count. He never lived at Neverland again, saying that the 2003 raid had stripped it of its home status.
Wow.
He spent most of the next 4 years in Bahrain and Ireland, then returned to Los Angeles. Almost exactly 4 years after being acquitted, Jackson died of cardiac arrest at age 50, with a cocktail of prescription drugs in the system, including propofol, a powerful surgical anesthetic that his personal doctor had given him for sleep. That doctor was on site and later served 2 years in prison for malpractice.
Yeah, because we all know about this bum right here.
Anesthetic that his personal doctor had given him for sleep. That doctor was...
Yeah, I forgot that bum name. Bum. Come on now. I ain't even gonna speak into that. We knew something was iffy about that. How you a doctor? You gonna give him the medicine? Don't know first aid. Don't know how to. Man, get out of here.
On site, and later served 2 years in prison for malpractice. Then, even in death, Jackson got no peace. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the post-death accusations against Michael Jackson, because while they're easily the most horrific, they're also the very hardest to judge. In 2019. The HBO documentary Leaving Neverland reignited the whole thing. It featured 4 hours of two men, Wade Robson and James Safechuck, detailing graphic sexual abuse. The film was well made, super emotional, and it convinced a whole lot of people that Jackson molested these men. It got a standing ovation at the Sundance Festival, and critics loved it. It aired during the height of the Me Too movement, when believe all survivors was the prevailing attitude. Anyone who questioned the accusers were labeled Jackson fanboys. Oprah gave them a full hour of softball questions and emotional support.
Y'all, bro, kick rocks, bro. Y'all can call me a fanboy or whatever you want, bro. Y'all gonna bring this junk up after he dead? Oh, a long time after he, man, come on, bro. Come on, man. What we talking about, bro? Man, I don't want to hear none of that.
But Over my life, I've learned that documentaries are the easiest way to manipulate people.
Yeah.
You essentially own a person's brain for hours, controlling what they see and hear, and if you do it right, their emotions. Leaving Neverland did just that. And whether it was true or false, it was completely one-sided. I mean, no one questioned their claims or presented any contradictory evidence. No one cross-examined their stories at all. Wade Robson had been one of Jackson's most loyal defenders for over 2 decades. As a 22-year-old man, he testified under oath at Jackson's criminal trial, swearing that Jackson had never touched him inappropriately. Then life changed. Robson was struggling financially and professionally, and at age 30, he filed a lawsuit against the Jackson estate, saying that he had been molested for years and that the business entities should have protected him from Jackson, because you can't sue individuals after they're dead.
Get out my face, bro.
SafeCheck's story followed a similar pattern. He also defended Jackson for years, even after the singer's death. And after Robson's case started getting media attention...
Man, get out my face, bro. Straight up. This done getting me hot, bro. Get out my face with this garbage, dude. Man.
...of the lawsuit of his own.
Bruh.
Even without a cross-examination, their stories have had some problems.
I want to make it very perfectly clear, bro. If Mike really did something to kids, bro... that's sick, that's twisted, it's unacceptable. Regardless if I'm a supporter of his or not, I love Mike's music. I don't want to hear nothing about that, bro. If you did it, you did it. Same thing with R. Kelly, what happened with him, bro. If you did it, you did it, bro. I don't want to hear nothing. There ain't nothing else to be said. It's wrong. It's not cool. You don't mess with no innocent children like that, bro. But these phonies, bro, these ones that defend him, then you want to wait after when junk's not good for you to bring... Man, come on, bro. Come on, bro.
SafeCheck claimed that Jackson abused him in a train station at Neverland that wasn't built until 2 years later. But again,
man, stop it,
the
bro.
documentary was powerful.
Stop it, bro. I don't even want to hear this. No, man, matter of fact, I want to hear what he said at the end. Like, what's his verdict? Because he unbiased. I can tell. He been going from A to B.
Emotional and effective.
I want to hear.
I mean, Jackson's music got pulled from the airwaves. The problem with the Robson and SafeCheck's allegations isn't just their credibility. It's that they've never been properly challenged. They've essentially been presented by legal documents, a carefully controlled documentary, and supportive interviewers who treated them like confirmed victims rather than accusers making claims. In any event, both men still have outstanding legal cases against Jackson in California since the state extended the statute of limitations for child sexual abuse claims. So there's more to come on that. Look, when I started producing this piece, I had doubts. But as I said, I thought Michael Jackson was guilty. I can't say that anymore. I mean, I'm not confident he's innocent, but it seems the most likely scenario. To me, the accusers look like people shaking down a weird rich guy for millions. And the parents, whether Jackson was innocent or not, they pretty much all deserve jail time.
Nah, how about to say I'm keeping it a bean, bro. We're going to talk about Mike being... Yeah, is Mike sleeping with kids and children in a bed or like in his room weird? Yes. But Mike was weird, bro. If we keeping the bean, Mike was weird. He didn't really had no childhood. He was a child at heart. But, bro, he had nobody he could really trust. Kids that are young, bro, are probably gonna be the most honest with you, bro. Be honest. They're gonna be the most honestly and blunt with you because they just say things. They're not thinking. They're just saying stuff. And I don't know. Like I said, Mike just was a kid at heart. He liked having fun and stuff. Couldn't do none of the stuff he wanted to have fun like and do with adults. Probably couldn't trust adults because he's Michael Jackson. So everybody wants something from him. You know, and bro. And at the end of the day, bro, there's parents that let these kids be with this man. There wasn't no kidnapping. There wasn't no hostages. You had parents let this junk happen. And all this, all of a sudden, years later, y'all wanna come out the woodwork. Man, bro, stop it, bro. Stop it. Stop it. And if he had so many kids be there and no reports, then you have like just a few, you know it's fishy, bro. You just know it's fishy. Because if he was on demon time and he was really touching kids, bro, you know it would have been way more cases. Way more. R. Kelly had a substantial amount of cases, bro. Substantial amount of women. coming out the woodworks. And yeah, that situation too probably could have been a feud. I was lying. But like, man, this junk, bruh.
It's so hard to get past the notion that a whole lot of kids testified that Jackson was actually the childlike man he portrayed himself to be.
Look, bro, he was a kid in a grown man's body. Everybody knew this. He didn't have a childhood, bruh. He just was a kid at heart. He liked Peter Pan. He liked a lot of kid stuff. Everything he liked was kid-like.
I mean, it's possible they were abused too and encouraged to lie by Jackson's team. And
absolutely, that's also a thing that could have happened. You know, somebody could be coached or groomed or whatever, or all that stuff. Where are the parents, bruh? What are we talking about though? I
kept
ain't
their
going
silence
for it,
ever since. But that just doesn't seem likely. And finally, there's never been one victim come out against Jackson who wasn't seeking money and whose story was consistent and credible.
Come on, man.
It seems like there would be over time. Now look, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't let the guy babysit my kids. I mean, Peter Pan or not, he wasn't a child. At best, he was a grown man acting like one.
Yeah.
Fame and money allowed him to act in wildly inappropriate ways, and that's messed up in its own right. Okay, now that you're possibly convinced that I'm not a nut job, you may want to check out this other video I produced that kind of makes me look like one. Does Barack Obama's official White House portrait have a hidden sperm painted onto his face?
That is so random. I'm not checking that out, brother. That is just so random. But I do respect him trying to look at all views, all sides of the story. Is it possible that they could have got groomed, or like parents paid to not say nothing, or coach not to say nothing? Sure. But somebody, like he said, there was nobody that was consistent at all, and all of them wanted money. Like, come on, bruh. Is how Mike was that like normal? No. But Mike wasn't normal. Mike never had a normal life. You can't even begin to like even think about that man. Like the shoes that he was in. Like, nobody knows what it's like to be Michael Jackson. Like, to from like 6, 7 years old to be forced into dancing and singing like constantly to be perfect, getting beatings and all that stuff, man. Like, he never got to like go outside and have fun. I don't know. But hey, look. If y'all like this video, y'all think I'm just a fanboy, hey, comment below. I don't care. Let me know what y'all think. But I hope y'all like this video. Like, share, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subs. It's your boy Jay Osh. And I'm out. Hee!